Hey everyone, it's Brett Hornby here. If you're new to this, welcome aboard, and if you're returning, welcome back here. As you can see with my attire here, it's time to start talking some Calgary Hitmen again, as it's time to start kickoff Season 2 of... Hey there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to my Calgary Hitmen in 4 here. I call this one 4-game segment here, as this is just the preseason here, and Calgary Hitmen only played 4 preseason games here ahead of the 2019-20 WHL season here. And I say, if you're new to this, this is where I do my game recaps of how things went in the previous segment, and then look ahead to the next segment here to tee up the Calgary Hitmen season here and keep making regular segments. Usually they're 6-game segments, and I call it my Calgary Hitmen in 6. I do the same thing for the Flames here. I came up with the title by thinking of, when you're talking about a playoff series and your prediction, and you just say how many games, so that's what inspired that name here. So, as I always do, is I recap the games that they had in this segment here. In this case, this will be the preseason here, and then I go over and look ahead to, which I'll do is the first 6 games of the regular season, and then that would be the next episode here. And first season, it was actually fun doing this. The Calgary Hitmen, they started off slow here, but then they really picked it up here and made it all the way to the second round of the WHL Playoffs here, and I wound up making 17 episodes here, starting from preseason last year all the way up to episode 17, where recapped. Unfortunately, it was a sweep in the second round of the playoffs here. However, I felt it ultimately was a successful season, and how far the Calgary Hitmen came throughout the season there. If you want, it's on the playlist. You can relive last season, season 1 here, but that was last season. Here we are on to this season, season 2, and it'll be the 25th season that the Calgary Hitmen has been around in the Western Hockey League. So this franchise has been a part of this community for a quarter century now, and many players, because also I'm going to go over the Bantam Draft and the opening day roster here, as many players from the team last season that we built up the program here from a few years ago will be returning here. So I expect the Calgary to be competitive here. And when I go to the schedule look ahead here, if you watched my Calgary hockey update video, there's a correction I got to highlight here. I put that in the description already if you watched it, but I'll get to the little correction that I need to make here. So without further ado, tell you what these videos are about here. Let's jump right in and let's start talking some Calgary Hitmen hockey here. And the Hitmen, they start their preseason a little earlier than the Calgary Flames here, as I know the training camp started just before Labor Day there, and they had their 4 games. And actually tomorrow, as of this recording, they start their 2019-20 WHL season here, and I say the Calgary Hitmen and the WHL will play 68 games in the regular season, so there'll be many videos, plus the last 8 games there'll be 2 4-game videos after 6-game segments. So basically that's what I do for these videos here. So before we talk about the games here, I'll throw this in this year as the Bantam Draft here, where players, scouts look for players on midget junior teams that 14, 15-year-olds that become property of the Calgary Hitmen, and maybe start their dream to eventually play in the NHL here. So there was 11 rounds here in the 2019 WHL Bantam Draft here, so it's a lot deeper than the NHL draft here. And if you look at my Calgary hockey update video, they made one big trade there where they acquired Jet Wu, defenseman from the Moose Jaw Warriors here, because they actually had 2 first-round picks. So look at that video for how that trade broke down, and it's definitely a huge kind of a blockbuster trade for junior hockey. Look at the defenseman here. However, the Calgary Hitmen still had a first-round pick in the Bantam Draft here. So in round 1, 13th overall, they drafted defenseman Grayden Slepmann. And then round 2, 35th overall, the Hitmen drafted forward Whynott. And then they didn't have a pick until the 4th round here. And then 77th overall, they drafted goaltender Ethan Bonaventura. And then 4th round, 2 picks later, 79th overall, selected forward Bilal Nouri. And then the 5th round, 101st overall, the Calgary Hitmen selected forward Mason Finley. In 6th round, interesting, I actually made a comment on the Facebook page, as 113th overall, they drafted defenseman Nick Sutter. Hockey fans will think, related to that family? Actually, no. This Sutter is not related to the Sutter famous hockey family, according to the Facebook post reply that I got, because I, of course, had to ask, related to the family. So, interesting. Do have a Sutter, but not related to that hockey family. And then in the 7th round, 145th overall, they selected forward Jacob Lamoureux. And then they didn't have a pick in the 8th round, so in the 9th round here, they selected 189th overall forward Jared Feist. Round 10, 211th overall, selected defenseman Jona Moberg. Last but not least, in round 11, 233rd overall, the Hitmen rounded up the draft with forward Jaden Kudakowski. So those are the picks. I'll put them in the description here. And on the Hitmen Hockey website, they notified a bunch of this alumni who actually eventually played, and I'll go over their names and the year they were drafted here, starting with last year, Sean Tessier, who was drafted in 2018. He actually played a couple games for the Hitmen last year, and he'll definitely have a bigger role this year as one of the rookies here. And then in 2017, Luke Prokop, another veteran that's back this year. And then 2016, Jackson Van de Leest, 2016. And then 2015, Lane Toder. And then 2014, Mark Kaslek. And then 2013, Beck Melstein. And then here we'll go over some names that actually have made some time in the NHL here, including Jake Virtanen from, if you're a Canuck fan, was drafted in the Bantam Draft in 2011 by the Calgary Hitmen. And then Colby Harmsworth back in 2010. And then Kenton Helgeson back in 2009. And then Cody Sylvester, one of the players, I know he was one of the character players. He was drafted back in 2007 there. And then same with Matt McKenzie in 2006. And then 2005, we drafted a goalie named Martin Jones here, who, started with the Kings and now it's the Sharks here. 2004, we drafted Brent Sawney. And then 2003, we drafted a defenseman named Carl Alsner, who spent some time with the Washington Capitals and the Montreal Canadiens. And I think the best player that the Hitmen drafted that came out of this draft, 2000, Ryan Getzlaf. Spent his whole career with the Anaheim Ducks here, and you might say behind Solani and Korea, Ryan Getzlaf's probably one of the best Ducks to ever play for the franchise here, and then last Johnny Boychuk in 1999. So I'll put all those names also in the description here. There's notable alumni that the Calgary Hitmen, HitmenHockey.com, listed as notable alumni who were drafted in the Bantam Draft, who played in the franchise, and some of these names in the past have gone on and had some successful or continuing successful NHL careers here. So now let's get to the actual games here. So game 1 happened back on Friday, September 6th. The Calgary Hitmen were doing a back-to-back with the Edmonton Oil Kings here. This first game was up in Edmonton. Actually was played at the downtown community arena. 7 p.m. puck drop, which is right next door to Rogers Place in the Ice District here. And as it continues to be the case, this is definitely one of the teams that the Calgary Hitmen are going to have to try to master here, as the Edmonton Oil Kings had our number last year, and ultimately that was the team that knocked us out in the second round here. However, Hitmen actually scored first in this game. It was a guy named Roy Neal, scored the first 2 minutes of the first period here, so good start here. However, the Oil Kings tied things up at the 5-minute mark, and it was 1-1, and it stayed 1-1 until he got to the 6 and 7 minute marks of the third period, where the Edmonton Oil Kings struck twice to take the game 3-1, and ultimately the Calgary Hitmen lost the first preseason game 3-1 here against the Edmonton Oil Kings. So far the Edmonton Oil Kings still have the Calgary Hitmen number here, but it's only preseason, and as we try things out here, the Oil Kings also outshot the Calgary Hitmen 36-27 here. It was Carl Stankowski that started in net for the Hitmen, and Ethan Hine took over halfway, so about the 30-minute mark. Slot goalies is coming in preseason here. And then for the Edmonton Oil Kings side of the puck, Dylan Miskow started, and then Sebastian Kosa took over for the third for the Oil Kings here. So that was basically how I summarize game 1 here. And also the fact that the Calgary Hitmen took 8 penalties in this game, while the Oil Kings only took 3 here. So little bumps in the road here already to start the preseason here. However, game 2 was the next night, so on Saturday, September 7th. This time, the Calgary Hitmen were at home, but not at the Scotiabank Saddledome, but the 7 Chiefs Sportsplex. It was a 7 p.m. puck drop at TsuuT'ina Nation, which is immediately west of Calgary here. This was the first ever hockey game, WHL game, to ever be played in TsuuT'ina Nation. And let's all know about alumni Brent Dodgenhorse, who was on the 1999 WHL Championship team that went to the Memorial Cup there, was on that team, and he actually did sign a contract with the Calgary Flames as a free agent, but he didn't play for the Calgary Flames. But, it was definitely, some nice little tidbits here. WHL played some hockey in TsuuT'ina here. However, one thing after all that interaction here, one thing that still continued here is the Edmonton Oil Kings still have our number here, and I'm going to say they had our number a lot more in the second game here, as the Oil Kings scored 3 goals in the first and second period there. So if you do the math, the Calgary Hitmen were down 6-0 after 2 periods there, and the Oil Kings were led by Riley Shawchuk, who had 2 goals and assist there in the 6-0 lead there. However, we did get 2 goals in the third period here, both by Grayden and Slepmann. However, we still lost the game 6-2 here. We actually did outshoot the Oil Kings in this one, 38-30 here. However, I'm going to highlight here that the Oil Kings got half their offense on the power play here, as they went 3 for 7 here, and how the goaltending broke down for this game is actually Jack Manon started the first half of the game. Unfortunately, he had a rough game after his fine rookie season last year, and then Braden Peters took over second half here. As a Jack Manon, he was in for 5 of the 6 Oil Kings goal here. And then on the Oil Kings side of things, Todd Scott played for 2 periods there, was perfect against the Calgary Hitmen, and Sebastian Costa played in the third period, where the Hitmen scored their 2 goals here. So definitely still got some work to do. It was only preseason, but still being owned by the Oil Kings here. However, game 3, things were looking a little better here, as it happened on Saturday, September the 14th. The Calgary Hitmen were on the road to take on the Medicine Hat Tigers, and just like the previous two games, it was at a neutral site game, This was at the Tabor Community Center. It was a 7 p.m. puck drop. Tabor, if you're not familiar with Alberta geography here, is about 50 kilometers east of Lethbridge there, and the Crowsnest Highway there, McCain plants there. So this is definitely a much closer game here as compared to the first two games here. One thing to note here is that Jackson Vandelist, who he was not drafted in the entry draft this past year. However, the Calgary Flames did sign him as an amateur free agent and was in development camp, and he started in main camp for the Calgary Flames here. However, he was fresh off being released from the Flames to join the Calgary Hitmen, and he made an immediate impact here as he assisted on the Josh Prokop goal in the 6-minute mark of the first period, and then Vandy scores at the 6-minute mark of the third period. So he had a goal and assist here in this first preseason game with the Calgary Hitmen to take a 2-0 lead here. However, the Tigers got back into this game with the 14-minute mark of the third period, but however, the Calgary Hitmen ultimately held on to a 2-1 win here, as it was a lot more balanced game here. The Calgary Hitmen did outshoot the Tigers 36-33 here, but it definitely felt like a lot more of a defensive struggle kind of game here. Each team took 5 penalties, so it was very balanced overall here. When it came to the net here, Karl Stokowski started and played periods 1 and 2 while Grayden Peters took over in the third period here. And then on the Tigers side of the puck here, Garden Bjorklund actually played the whole game here, minus the last couple minutes where they had the extra attacker on the ice there. So definitely faced a little more regular competition here. And also worth noting, he didn't dress here, but another former Whiteman player that got signed to Calgary Flames camp here as an amateur tryout is for James Mullum here. He didn't get drafted, but he was on Flames development camp and wasn't in main camp, but he also did return to the Calgary Hitmen here ahead of this game here. And also worth noting here is Willie Desjardins, the former NHL coach who coached with the Vancouver Canucks and most recently with the Los Angeles Kings. He's back in Medicine Hat, so Willie Desjardins is back as head coach of the Medicine Hat Tigers here, so that's definitely one thing to watch for here as the season progresses. And then the final preseason game that the Calgary Hitmen had on Sunday, February the 15th, we were taking on the Red Deer Rebels at our regular home at the Scotiabank Saddledome. 2 p.m. puck drop here in his last preseason game for the Calgary Hitmen, and scoring happened early here. Evan Toth for the Hitmen scored just first minute in the game. So just as the game started, Evan Toth came in and scored the first goal there. However, a couple minutes later, Jaden and Grubel tied things up to make it 1-1. 3 minutes into the game here. And then the Hitmen scored 3 more to take a 4-1 lead in the first period there. So the Calgary Hitmen started off strong here and took a 4-1 lead going into the first period there. Second period featured 3 goals, 2 by the Hitmen at the 5 and 8 minute marks. And Hitmen enjoyed a 6-2 lead after 2 periods there. There was no scoring in the third period there. So ultimately, the Calgary Hitmen won 6-2 to wrap up the preseason with a 2-2 record here. Riley Fidler-Schultz stood up for the Calgary Hitmen here as he scored 2 goals, and defensively, this was definitely a strong defensive effort from the team here as the Calgary Hitmen outshot the Red Deer Rebels 30-14 here. Jack Monoton started and played for the first 2 periods while Ethan Hine played the third period. Actually, Ethan Hine, he only faced 2 shots in the third period there for the Hitmen goalie here. And then for the Red Deer Rebels side of the puck here, Byron Fancy started for the Rebels. Well, he definitely had a lot of pucks passed by him. He allowed 5, and he was allowed 5 goals there, and he was replaced after the 5 minute mark of the second period there by Ethan Anders, who took over the rest of the game there. So definitely a big offensive showing for the Calgary Hitmen to end the preseason game. So we finished the preseason at 2-2 here, which kind of take with a grain of salt here. So I recall last year, the Calgary Hitmen, they played 6 preseason games, and I think they were actually 6-0 in the preseason here. So and then it's junior hockey, it's a lot harder to judge here, but I still think with a lot of the veterans that all the 7 players that went to NHL camps here ultimately got returned, so they didn't have a chance to play in any of these games as well. So I still think the Calgary Hitmen should have a competitive season to be one of the top teams in the Central Division here. Obviously, still got some work to do with the Bantam Draft here. So that's the preseason here. So now let's look ahead to the regular season here. And this is where I gotta make my correction here. Is that I was half right about the home opener, but it wasn't the season opener for the Calgary Hitmen here. As the regular season, game 1, the Calgary Hitmen will play the Swift Current Broncos on Saturday, September 21st at the Innovation Credit Union Iplex, 7 p.m. puck drop. So the Calgary Hitmen will start their 2019-20 season in Swift Current here. And the one thing to note here with the Swift Current Broncos here, as if you recall, the Kootenay Ice, who used to be based in Cranbrook, relocated to Winnipeg. They'll be known as the Winnipeg Ice here. Well, for division realignment here, they moved the Winnipeg Ice to the East Division here, and the Swift Current Broncos are now in the Central Division, taking place of each other's teams here. So now the Swift Current Broncos are going to be a division rival starting this season here. So that's game 1 here. Game 2 is the home opener for the Calgary Hitmen, and I'm personally planning on taking in that game. This will be on Friday, September 27th. The Calgary Hitmen will take on the Edmonton Oil Kings. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And then on game 3 will happen on Saturday, September 28th. They'll be up to QE2 to take on the Red Deer Rebels here. The building's now called the Westmere Park Centrium. It's the same building that they've always played in, but it's just a new sponsor now. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop here. And then next afternoon here, game 4, the Calgary Hitmen on Sunday, September 29th, go back to Calgary to take on the Medicine Tigers. That's a 4 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And then game 5 on Saturday, October the 6th, the Calgary Hitmen are going to be at home taking on the Portland Winterhawks. That'll be I said Sunday, October 6th. That's Sunday, October 6th, if I accidentally said Saturday there. The Calgary Hitmen will be at home taking on the Portland Winterhawks. That's a 2 p.m. puck drop here. And then the first 6-game segment, which will be episode 2, and I recap the first 6 games. I'll call that my Calgary Hitmen at 6, Saturday, October 12th. The Calgary Hitmen will be on the road. It'll be up to QE2, take on the Edmonton Oil Kings, Rogers Place at 7 p.m. there. Another thing to note here is if things go as planned, episode 2 will be recorded when I'm on the road at Mount Robson here, but that's weather permitting if I actually do that trip there. So maybe episode 2 I'll be recording in different circumstances, but in terms of uploading the video, it might be delayed just because of Wi-Fi when you're on the road here. So last thing to wrap up my Calgary Hitmen 4 kick off season 2 episode on the preseason here is who is on the opening night roster here. So we'll start with the forwards here. Is number 7 right wing Devin Klassen from Crooked Lake, Alberta. That's the start the forwards here. Number 10 Josh Prokop, right winger from Edmonton here. Number 11 center Cale Zimmerman from Edgefield, Saskatchewan here. And then number 12, center Mark Kaslik from Phoenix, Arizona. Number 14, James Malm, left winger from Langley, BC. And here's the first rookie here, Whynott, right wing from Harrov, Czech Republic. And then number 17, Hunter Campbell, right wing from Everett, Washington. And then center, number 18, Riley Stotts from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And then center, number 19, Carson Fook, center from Regina, Saskatchewan here. And then Riley Feathershotz, number 21, center from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. And then left winger, rookie, Adam Kidd, left winger from Regina, Saskatchewan here. And then number 25, rookie, Zach Funk, left winger from Vernon, BC. And then number 26, rookie, Samuel Krajcek, right winger from Martin, Slovakia. And then center, Ty Carrier, center from Red Deer, Alberta. And then number 28, Parker Weisblatt, left winger from here, Calgary, Alberta. And to wrap up the forwards, number 29, left winger, rookie Sean Tessier from Whitecourt, Alberta. So those are your forwards to kick off the 2019-20 Calgary Hitmen. So now let's look on the defense here. So defenseman number 2, Dakota Krebs from Okotoks, Alberta, just south of Calgary. Rookie Evan Toth, defenseman from Winnipeg, Manitoba here. Number 4, defenseman Lane Toller, defenseman from Elkhorn, Manitoba. And then number 5, Jackson Vandalist, or Vandy, from Kelowna, BC. And then number 6, Luke Prokop, defenseman from Edmonton, Alberta. And then Andrew Vigors, number 8, from here in Calgary. And then number 9, Igor Zamula, from Chelblacks, Russia, if I said that right. And the last defenseman, the big acquisition that we made in the off-season, number 22, Jet Wu from Winnipeg, Manitoba here. And then the 3 goalies that we are going to have here is number 1, Carl Stankowski from Laguna Hills, California. And then number 31, Jack Whynott from here in Calgary. And last but not least, he's considered a rookie, number 35, Braden Peters from Tabor, Alberta here. And once again, we're led by head coach Steve Hamilton and Jeff Schmouth, who is the general manager for the Calgary Hitmen here. So definitely a lot to take in here, but it's hockey season once again, and it'll be fun to follow how our junior team does this season in the 25th season of the franchise here. So if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along here. And let's go Hitmen, and let's see if this year's edition will eventually get to the World Cup and win the World Cup here. But what's the beauty of this time of year is everyone thinks they have a shot here, and let's see how things go along here. And maybe I'll make more. They'll make more than 17 episodes here. So let's go Hitmen, and Calgary Flames game recaps will come here in a couple weeks when they wrap up their preseason, when I do the season 2 of that as well. So I'll talk to you soon, and see you in the next video.